It's always exciting doing something new and not really being sure about what you're doing. There's bit of an adrenaline rush, really. Um, can't find where it should be. No, that's not it. That's not what I'm looking for. Anyway, I'm just going to take my word for it that I am indeed up and running. Okay. Anyway, as you can see, the test server's back for the Settlers Online. There's not much going on here, is there? It's a real battle doing this one because no one's got any resources. They decided to take the test server right back to the beginning and start again from scratch so that everything could be tested before they put everything onto the Unity server. So it was off all last night. Was off all day yesterday, the night before. So it's been back on today. So I indulged a little bit. Not much though. I mean, I just walk back in and do a little bit here and there, as you do. So what I've got for you today is I thought that I would continue on from yesterday. And yesterday I talked about having good sources and, steering clear of the whole freeman of the land arguments and all of the other rot that goes with it. And it's pretty hard to do. Now, today I didn't find any of the arguments for the freeman of the land stuff. There's a fair bit of it around. There's Rob Sudi actually has a really good website dealing with the freeman of the land arguments. He used to be one of the proponents of it, and he's come to realise that, well, to put it in, ordinary Aussie parlance, it's a pile of shit. I'll say he's done so much work on it, and I'll probably refer to a lot of his work when I do it. There's also a Canadian case, Meads versus Meads, which is really worth looking at because it's a really long judgment, and the judge just decided to make it all about the freeman of the land type arguments and all of the fallacies that are in there, and how this guy tried to get out of paying his ex-wife what he needed to after the divorce. And it's a really interesting read. It's really long, and I sort of thought I'll probably run my freeman of the land discussion through the lens of Mead versus Mead, because it's really interesting. It's very convoluted, and it's so easy to get caught up in this whole, well, the law isn't the law, and judges and magistrates get it wrong. I will work out how to actually show parts of videos. I mean, there's a fair few of them where the guys stand up and say, oh, here's video of one of the freemen of the land dudes having a victory. Victory is ours. And what it actually shows is that the magistrate or judge just sort of says, okay, you're going to do that? Not a problem. I'm leaving now. Gets up and walks out. That is not a victory, guys. That's your case not being heard. You've still got the court costs for the day. The other side's got costs for the day. And you're going to have to come back. This is not a victory. It's just, delaying the inevitable, I guess. So I'm happy to work through some of that stuff because I find it really interesting, and so many people get caught up in it because the people that talk about it, they're very convincing in how they speak. They're really enthusiastic. They're so excited about it, and they're going to sell you a pup. Simple as that. It's not good. So what I thought I'd show you, because I really do want to talk about credible sources. Now, if you're in Western Australia, a really good place to start is the Legal Aid of Western Australia website. Now, even if you're not eligible for legal aid, they have got so many things. So you can get legal help. Yeah, you can see that. So it starts up with legal help, find legal answers and resources. So let's look at the resources that they post. And this is really good. I like the way that they've set it up. It's a really simple website to follow. So, cross-border region. Well, what's a cross-border region? So child protection, that's obviously across borders, that goes anywhere in Australia. You can't ignore an order in Australia for child protection by fleeing the state. It doesn't work. All that happens is that the police actually get a hold of the police in the other state and say, look, there's this child protection order, let's do it. Same with family violence. If you've got a conviction of family violence or you've breached a family violence restraining order, it doesn't matter where you go. If you breach it, they'll find you. It's, that's pretty much it. So on this one, you actually have to go back because that's, you kind of can't get around there. So it goes into all of that. The reason I talk about it so much is because, especially in the Aboriginal communities, a lot of them actually are along different borders. So there's some that cover Western Australia, South Australia and the Northern Territory because it's kind of all out there. So the borders are a new invention according to us, where we decided the borders were. And Aboriginal culture covers different areas to what we would normally consider the border. So that's where a lot of the blurring goes. Now, they've got a whole section for young people, and I would love to address young people just to help them get set up for future success and how to avoid problems. It's really easy for young people to get into trouble because, brains haven't kicked in properly yet, and that's, not a disparaging comment. It's just, no life experience. You only know what you've been taught. If you've been taught bugger all, that's what you know. So they actually show videos about the law. So they've got lots of them. So, mortgage stress. Let's look at that one. So they've got a few of them. So, you can look at it. This got a lovely picture of the old Supreme Court House. So, you can look through the website quite, just look at it and see what you can find. Now, I like their information sheets. I think they're really handy. As you can see, they're all divided up into the different categories. So with your neighbours, it's a really interesting one. Restraining orders are very common around most places because people overstep the mark, harass, annoy, and threaten. And at what point should you be getting a restraining order against someone? Now, there's lots of different categories. So look under the crime. They've got about the fines and infringement, going to court for a criminal charge. I'm having one of those freaking days today. It's not been good. Never mind, I shall get there. So, they talk about answering questions from the police, you know, should you answer the questions? And I know I don't cover criminal law here, but legal aid covers it. So you can find it. Say you're cruising, you found this video because you've got some questions. Well, legal aid in Western Australia is a great place to get lots of answers, and other legal aid suppliers in other states. Legal aid in the other states gives you as much information. Remember, you've got to be careful about the jurisdiction. So if you're living in Western Australia, you broke the law in Western Australia, or you're in legal trouble in Western Australia, check out the West Australian law to see if that's relevant. You know, don't assume that the laws are all the same. They're not. But there's lots of different things, like, you know, how do you get your extraordinary driver's license? So it goes into that. There's a whole sheet of it, 6 pages, absolutely fabulous. I should really. Yeah, hang on. Let me do it this way so that I've got this covering that, and I can pull this back up, and that way you can see just the website. Right. So I was going to go and have a look at now. Why does it look different? It's because I made this tab smaller. So this depends, how this here looks depends on the size of your screen, where you're reading it. But just scroll through and, you know, like, let's go to the Mortgage Stress Self-Help Guide. So this is basically what I'm trying to achieve, but I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you. And I mean, ours wasn't so much mortgage stress as ours was fraud committed by the bank against us. It was, there's no two ways about it, ours was fraud. It wasn't just, you know, our circumstances changed. And so you can, you know, you might have to look at how it all comes together. I suspect that not all of this will be really helpful to people who are experiencing mortgage stress because the bank did something that the bank shouldn't have done. That's just my feeling on it. So if you've received, you know, useful documents, let's look at the useful documents that they've got, because it's worthwhile knowing. So, hardship variation. Have you heard about a hardship variation? If you're in trouble with your bank because you've stopped being able to repay your mortgage for, you know, say you lost your job or your job changed, and with that change you got less income than you were earning, and, you know, you gave yourself X amount of time to sort of get back on track and earn the same money as you did when you got the loan, but it's really taking a long time, and you thought you'd have a go at selling your properties so that you're out of legal trouble anyway, and none of it's worked, you can apply to the bank for a hardship variation. So the bank might put all of your repayments on hold for 6 months while you sort the problem out, whether that is, you know, you get another job that pays what you were paying, or you sell the property so that at least you don't have a mortgage. Most people don't like that option, and I fully get it. We had a farm that I didn't want to sell, but we had options for what to do with it. It's just that the bank wouldn't let us deal with the property the way that we thought we could pay out the debt and, you know, at least make our loans manageable. So the reason you have to get legal advice from a lawyer that you can show all your documents and have a talk to is because your situation will be different to everybody else's, so you've really got to be on top of that. So you can ask for a hardship variation. some banks, look, they kind of feel like they're obligated to. It also goes into the Australian Financial Complaints Authority complaint resolution. My dealings with people who have had dealings with AFCA is that AFCA's shit. Don't bother. Don't worry about it, because they are there by the financial organisations for the financial institutions. It's just, the banks have to pay them. It comes out of a levy, and they're really one-eyed. It's a shame, but it seems to be in its DNA. It came from FOSS, which was the Financial Services Ombudsman, and FOSS got a really bad reputation about, helping people out. And if you know anything about the Royal Commission into Banking, which I always bang on about, it does. That showed that FOSS wasn't really doing much. That's why FOSS was gotten rid of and replaced with AFCA, and now it looks like AFCA's doing the same thing. So people aren't that happy with it. So your court forms, there's Form 6 Memorandum of Appearance and application for a suspension order, and there's a template for affidavits. And I like this one, a checklist for unfair loans. How about we have a look at that one? So it tells you, if it's unfairness by lender, is the amount being claimed incorrect? Sometimes banks want money that they haven't actually lent you. It's really, really odd. You'd think that they would be on top of it. So there's lots of things that you can go through on this form. Like, were you unable to read or understand an explanation of the contract? For example, you don't speak English or you cannot read. That changes things, because that puts you at a disadvantage, because in that contract that somebody else read to you, there might be a clause that you didn't understand, but because you didn't want them to repeat it, because you might be a bit embarrassed about not being able to read English, or, not being able to read or write or whatever, you might not question it, and you don't want to look like a fool. Why not? None of us do. It's an interesting form. And it says, it doesn't mean that you'll win your dispute, but, if any of this has happened, get legal advice. And that's what they recommend, just get legal advice on it. So it's not too bad. On the side here, it shows you the links as well. Videos about the law. Children's Court VROs. Oh, what's the law? Have a look at what's the law. So there's videos you can watch, and and for presenters. Oh, I might use some of them. They look pretty good. Now for lawyers, what are they telling lawyers? There's resources that they can use, but I do believe that they're locked for lawyers, obviously. Now find legal answers. So it's worthwhile. What I would recommend, if you've got a problem, or even if you don't have a problem and you want to learn about the law in Australia, check out your state's legal aid website. They do a fabulous job. They cover a lot of things, and they cover it quite well. So yesterday I was talking about Ausly. Now I've gone to the Alternative Law Journal on this one. So if you go to Ausly, there's... This is your landing page. So if you put in the ausly.edu.au, you just come up with this website. And you can go through different things, like you can look at whether it's Australia-wide, like Commonwealth, or which state or territory. It covers New Zealand as well. It's just got lots of things that you can do. So it shows you the different libraries it's got. So if you're interested in the uniform law, to check out, is your lawyer doing the right thing, you can go there. There's lots of different things to look at on here. What I would recommend is you go through here and just click everything. Cases and legislation, what does that do? Oh, look, it gives you case law. Even, Privy Council from 1903 to 1980. Because the reason it goes to 1980, after 1980, we didn't have appeals to the Privy Council anymore. So the Family Court of Australia, you've got the Family Court of Australia plus the full court. So have a look at some of these. So in 2021, you can sort it by date. You can search different things, like, if you want to go, let's look at 2008. Oh, look, there's one that covers contempt of court. So just look around. This isn't a lesson on how to use it. As I said yesterday, YouTube has some really good videos on how to use all of these databases. But this is what the database looks like today. So when you log in, or when you first land on the page, this is what you see. So, it's worth looking at. It always pulls up the latest decisions and things first, and then you can do your search. So look at it. Like, I've never looked at the communities tab. It's like, I'm about to learn something. So it gives you the law handbooks. That's pretty interesting. The West Australian Law Handbook. There you go. About the WA legal system, alternative dispute resolution, car accidents. Can you challenge government decisions? A lot of the decisions that are famous at the moment for the Commonwealth are like the robo-debt, where, government decided that they were going to use an algorithm to claw back money from people who've received bugger all. Now, some people have this idea, and it kind of frustrates me, that when you get put onto Centrelink, that you automatically have nothing, you drive a shit car, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of people find themselves on Centrelink through no fault of their own, because they've lost their job, change of circumstances, that their marriage is broken up and they're stuck at home looking after the kids, whatever. There's lots of things. And I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't sell off your stuff to buy food, because you never get the value for the stuff that you're selling, and you don't get, you just don't get enough. But people are having to do it, and that's where I think the government's wrong, because, I think we should make sure that, we have a healthy enough economy that we don't have unemployed. But it's pretty rough, and unless you really know how to get every benefit, the average person I know doesn't get that much. And at one stage, before they really tighten it up, there were people who were professionally on Centrelink. They were earning more money on Centrelink than some people were after they were working full-time in a really tough job and paying their fair share of taxes. So why would you want to work on that? But now they've, Centrelink payments haven't gone up in, over 20 years. You wouldn't want to try raising kids on it. Anyway, oh look, it covers the credit code, mortgages and guarantees. So it actually covers a lot. Covers all of the different areas of law. So let's go. And since this is my favourite thing. So what does the credit one look like? Oh, when it comes up. So that was current to the 27th of July 2018. Tells you what it all is. Oh, they've brought in SIP Pay. Interest-free deal, payday loans. So it just explains everything, how it all fits together. What I'm trying to get at, what I would like to find is, do they actually show you what the legal framework is? Okay. Let's see what this one is. Okay. So it has updated that for AFCA. So that's not bad. I reckon that would be a really good read for you if you're wondering, what you can do. Definitely looks like the way to go. So that's the WA Law Handbook, and as you saw, there's law handbooks for other states as well, which I think is pretty good. Now, the other source that I wanted to cover is Jade. So it's Barnet Jade, but the address is jade.io. So if you're going to spam that email address, just be aware it's already spammed. I don't use it for much, and it's certainly not linked to any accounts. Nothing important. I think this one's about the only one. It's So Jade is pretty good to use. So this is going, you can do the big search like I just pressed on a year. So it tells you what the cases are. So you can do a year search, you can do a case search, you can do a word search, you can do lots of things. So it actually, hang on, let's see if I can go and if I can actually show you that, what I want to get at. Let me find, what do I want to look for? Okay. Let's look at Amadio. So this text isn't available in Jade, but it was referred to in Macintosh and Suncorp. So you go to that case, and here on the side it tells you where it's been cited, and it does tell you can download the original document, and I think it sends you off to the website, or it just says we don't have it. But you can look at all of the catchwords, and what I want to look at is what they do is they have the citations on the side, so then you can find other cases that used the particular case. Can I find Amadio in here? So they relied on all of these cases and the acts. Okay. So, okay. Now, as you can see, it just sort of shows you citations on the side. And if you read through a case, and I mean, I know that you know nothing about the law, and you know, it's kind of a steep learning curve if you're self-representing and there's everybody telling you how to do things. But if you read a whole case and you find the citations and you follow it, like sometimes it's like putting together a puzzle. I know a lot of people put in documents to the courts where they're citing a case because it happens to mention what they're looking at. Let me see if I can find something better. Let me just, yeah, they're the only citations in it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of cases where the famous ones sort of happen. But, yeah, that's obviously not going to work for me. Okay. So, I thought this one would be an interesting way to go. So, do I know any of these? Oh, and Freeman. So, I actually know some of these people. And I believe that Mars actually won. But I don't think they ever enforced the judgment. So you can then go, oh, that's a 500. Oh, I've lost it. Oh, that's not good. Let's go back to Jade. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? Mind you, I'm not teaching you how to use it, so that's all right. So don't be afraid to use the resources. If you can think of a catchword, like you might want to use, we're going fraud. Oh, just for the hell of it. So it tells you what the statute of frauds is. You can read up about the statute of frauds. That's quite interesting. Real property fraud contracts. Bank defence to claim for possession fraud committed by plaintiff. Fraud detection and reporting. When you put in words like fraud, usually it'll bring up criminal. So if you're looking at, like if something says a name and the king or the queen or the crown, that's the government. So it's usually, you know, for whatever reason, it's the government suing someone or someone suing the government. Okay. So, I mean, it brought up about 1,708 references. So sometimes I like to go and look at the back. Oh, look, all of the acts that are done. Oh, this one's from 2020. That's interesting. Anyway, as you can see, just one word can bring up lots of resources. So then on the side you can filter it. But as I say, Google's your friend. YouTube search is your friend. Once you've found a really good source, there will be YouTube videos on how to really use them. It's not my thing. I can't tell you how to really use it. I mean, I'm thinking of putting it into my book just so that you've got something to follow, but it's not my area of expertise. And like, I know that with Jade, it's actually the people who put Jade together who've done the videos. So that's a much better option. But they're my 3 main go-to sources for anything where I have to explain it to other people. If I need to explain something and find a case to use to explain something to someone, or they're looking for a case because, you know, they're trying to make a point, and sometimes it helps to find a case where it's disproven. So they're my 3 go-to sources. As I say, the legal aid one is really good because they provide so much information because they can't look after a lot of people. Legal aid's very limited. There's, you know, lack of funding and all sorts. With the mortgage stuff, I'm not sure what the update is on that, what they were trying to achieve with it. I know that I did speak to someone about working there, and you know, he kind of explained to me what it was all about. He knew my background. He knew that's why I wanted to be involved with that. But, you know, it's when we were looking for help, you couldn't get anything from legal aid at all. It was a sad case of stiff shit, if you pardon the language. But, you know, apparently now they're trying to help people because there's so many people who are in mortgage stress, and when you're in mortgage stress, you really can't afford to pay a lawyer, because if you could afford to pay a lawyer, you'd be paying off your mortgage. It's kind of, you know, catch-22. So I thought I would just do that. Leave these links for you. I will add I'll add the links into the description probably tomorrow. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you'll have a good night. I'm going to see if I can get to feel a bit better now. But as I say, it's just worthwhile remembering that all of this stuff does exist. There are free sources out there that are good. There's also sources out there that have the flavour of being professional, proper, the correct law, and you'll find that there's pseudo law. So I really do have to do something a bit more comprehensive to really explain that, and I think that's something where, you know, it needs to be covered on all fronts. This week is not the week for me to cover that because hubby's home. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this has gone live everywhere. It did tell me that it had.